Before we leave this view and start constructing the walls for our first building, I want to call your attention to these ideas of what these levels are doing and kind of how to adjust them. So level 1 is the first floor. Level 2 can be the top of the wall, which is what we'll use in this case. I'm going to scroll in here so that we can actually make some adjustments to this. I'll hold down the center scroll bar and pan this over, drag it over. I'm going to go ahead now and select this one. And you'll notice there's this little circle here. If I grab that, I can actually pull these away from the object. That'll make things a little clearer. And I'm going to click on the bottom of this one, and then I'm going to click it again. And I'm going to change this to 15 feet because that's how high I want the walls to be. So that's set up now for our construction of our walls in that view. I'm going to click over to level 1 and start thinking about drawing some walls. So I'm going to grab the wall tool and down at the bottom for the drop down, click on that and grab the wall architectural. The other techniques here we'll talk about in the future. We're going to come up with a wall generic 8-inch, I'm guessing, depending on the way your software is set up. And I'm going to suggest we do the masonry. Make some masonry exterior wall. Just has a little bit of texture to it. Makes it for a little more interesting rendering when we get to it. I want to call your attention, first of all, to the idea of where our walls are connected to as we went ahead and set up and when we were looking at the south elevation. We're starting at level 1, and we're going to go up to the top constraint, which right now says unconnected, but we want it to say level 2. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I want you to pay attention when you're thinking about making lines also to this idea of a location line. So if I hold the mouse over this, you'll notice that we're looking now at a top view. The graphics down below are looking at a wall section. The red is brick. They're just using that as a sample. We're not actually drawing that. It's just a generic way it is indicating a wall. But if you'll notice, number 3 is the one I want to select. I want to dimension to the finished face exterior. We're going to make a 30-foot by 80-foot building on the exterior surface. If you're working, for instance, on the interior of the building and you were very particular about how far the inside surfaces were apart from each other, you could use number 4, which would be the finished face interior. So I'm going to go ahead and select finished face exterior, and that'll change up here. And now I want to call your attention to the chain command. This means that when we start drawing the wall, all the walls, if I click, 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 it'll keep drawing the walls. I don't have to go back and select the wall tool. And I want to make sure that's on. It could be off. It depends on what the default setting is. So now we're after all of that laborious setup, which is really important, and will come very quickly to you later on in the future. We're ready to start drawing. So you notice I have that little bullseye marker. I'm going to go to the bottom left-hand corner here. I'm going to draw up a wall that I want to be 80 feet long. If yours doesn't come up exactly 80 feet by scrolling out like that, you can just type in 80. And you'll notice I'm ready right away just by moving the mouse. I'm not even holding any buttons down now. I can move over to 30 feet. I'll just type in 30. I can drag down now. Haven't touched the mouse button. Back to 80. And then go around and make final contact when it shows 30. If you had some problems with that, I'm going to go through that again. I want you to pay attention to what I say again, because this is a really important part of starting to draw in an accurate way. So I'm going to click, release, and drag up. Notice the 90-degree symbol showing. Notice the dotted line highlighting. Once again, 80 feet, click. 30 feet, click. Drag down. Once again, that highlighting, 90 degrees, till I'm down at the bottom, click. Got the highlighting the other way. Notice that line up and click, and we've completed the building. And I can just now click off on the Modify building, the Modify tab, and we now have our building constructed, or our walls. And we go ahead and look at that in the 3D view. And let's go ahead and set up a rendering for this. So down on the bottom left here, there's a visual style palette. If I click on that, I can set it for realistic rendering. And you'll notice if I zoom in here, now how we have the CMU unit showing a little bit of texture on those walls. You'll notice that when I click on any one of these walls, the dimension that shows up isn't saying exactly 30 feet because it's actually showing the dimensions to the center line of the wall. I just want to confirm to you that this is actually 30 feet wide. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to just show you. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to grab a dimensioning tool, and I'm going to come in and actually using the tab until I can select that outside line. I'm going to click on this one and tab. I'm going to come up and I'm going to just show you that it says 30 feet. So we now have a very accurately located building. Okay, one last thing I want to do before we leave this section. In the next section, we'll start to look at the roofs and windows and doors. But I want to go back, select architecture again, and grab the floor tool. And I want to make a surface below this pad, kind of to represent the road. So I'm going to make sure that it isn't directly aligned with it. So I'm going to type in -6 feet. That's going to height offset it. It's going to lower it down a little bit. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and just draw a big box underneath everything here. It's not really critical. It just helps us. And if I drag this palette up here, you'll see it says highlighted floors overlap. That's just because they're intersecting with each other. That's 6 inches of level difference. I'll show you that when I go to the south elevation. You can see now we have the parking pad up, or the building pad up here, and then we have that other surface down 6 inches below it. And we'll take a look at that in the 3D view. So now we have a road and then kind of like a sidewalk going around it. So we'll end this clip and pick up in the next one.